and welcome to the Browns Blitz. Today is Wednesday, February 9th. This is episode number 136. I am your host, Rod Bloom. Joining me today is my brother, Jeff. Hey, Jeff, how are things going?
Good, Rod. How are things going there?
Good. You know, the snow's melting.
Yeah. I think it's hitting the 40s the last couple of days, so
yeah,
almost feels like a heat wave.
Yeah, we hit 50. So I was out actually shoveling the ice off my driveway in a sweatshirt. So yeah. That's pretty
I was
nice,
actually planning some vacations for later this year to some warm climes today, just to get in the right mindset.
That's cool. Yeah. I mean, I didn't make it out anywhere. If I did, I'm sure I would have seen a lot of people in shorts. Because that's what happens. Joining us today is our guest, Kevin McAndrews. Follow him at Big Kevin Sports. Kevin, how are things going?
Hey, Rod. Hey, Jeff. Top of the morning to you. How are you guys this evening?
All right, doing great. Doing great. We appreciate you. Appreciate you stopping by and talking some Browns and some football with us.
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of your guys's. Was happy enough yesterday. Shout out to the Yard Dog podcast. And they told me to send you a message, Rob. And I already saw like our history chatting, and we go way back from when you first started off on Twitter. So I was like, oh, I know him, because when they say the actual name, it doesn't come together. For like a username, like an app mention. That's a weird thing about the Twitter. Like it says on top, it'll be like Kevin McAndrews, and then it's at, and then that name. So when they did the at name, that's why I didn't recognize you at first. But I've been following you guys for a while, and it's an honor to be on. So let's get this thing going.
So you and I interacted way back. Is that right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I have it. I have this thing where I just have my messages, my Twitter messages, and I just don't delete them. And I don't know why that is. Maybe I'm just lazy, but
cool.
Yeah, we talked a while back.
I don't delete them that often either, but they kind of pile up sometimes. It's hard to find them,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
I went deep. I went deep to find our conversation. We both just introduced each other when you first came on, and I was like, we connected right away, and we've both been following each other since you first came on. So really good to be talking to you. Yeah.
Well, that's excellent. Well, we don't get fans of the show on very often, right, Jeff? So,
well, I think we've had all three of them already.
All three, yeah. And we appreciate that, Kevin. And it's great to be talking to you. And shout out to the Yard Dogs, Jason, and I forget his co-host's name because I don't haven't honestly met or talked to him, but Jason, Jeff and I have both met Jason. He's a great guy. Keep in touch and talk with Jason a lot, and definitely great guy, great guys. So definitely another podcast to check out. So we appreciate the referral. Glad we could reconnect with you, and we're looking forward to talking to you tonight. So we're going to jump in here, guys.
Okay.
Before we do the football, we're going to talk about what we're drinking, and we call that our Blitz Beverages. Kevin, you're the guest. We're going to let you go first, and why don't you tell us about what you're drinking tonight?
Okay, tonight on tap we have classic Guinness. Low background. I was born in Achill, Mayo, Republic of Ireland, and my last name McAndrews is Americanized. It's actually McAndrews. When you go across the pond there, it's the western part of Ireland, and nice stout Guinness, and it is good. And it's not a stereotype. I was gonna have it before I was born there. So.
Nice. So is that your beverage of choice? Do you drink a lot of Guinness, or do you mix it up, or what do you usually do?
Once it gets to this winter / springtime with St. Patty's Day on the 17th of March, right around this period, and then I just lay off it. Once Brown season comes around, they're not going to catch me down there in the Muni lot drinking Guinness like a psychopath.
It hits a little different than the Bud Light, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a different type. It's hard to explain because I grew up on it when actually the legal age over there is 16. But I remember when I first would go up to the spot MP Lionettes, which is a bar that my grandfather owned, and now his son, my uncle, currently owns, and it's over there. It's M.P. Lionettes. It's hard to pronounce it. That's how you can pronounce it for you to go and spell it. But still there. I have my great grandfather, my great great grandfather, all their pictures are on the walls and stuff. So yeah, that is a tribute to me drinking this right now.
Excellent. And we're trying to picture this bar, and I'm sure it's way cooler than we can even imagine. Way more historic and everything. So.
Oh yeah, there's a long background to it. I'll definitely send you guys a link. It's really really cool.
Excellent. So Jeff, what are you partaking in tonight?
Well, in honor of our guest and keeping with the theme, I'm sipping on some Bailey's Irish Cream tonight, and I'm going to chase that with a tall Lake Erie highball.
Solange. That's how we say cheers in Ireland. That's what you say. It's spelled out, though, for the Americanized version. It's Salate, but it's Solange. And then for any of your guys' backgrounds, Vikings out there, Skull, Italian, Salud. and the regular cheers for you Irish folk, or you American folk.
Yeah.
This may be the most educational Blitz Beverage segment we've ever done.
Oh, I got a good knock to the head with the weather that's been going on, and right before we broadcasted, you guys saw my nose; it's all cut up. And actually, earlier this week, it was funny. I went on the another shout out, but they don't need it. It's the Big Play Reflux show. If you guys have heard of them, and the first question they asked me was who the Cavaliers just acquired, and I couldn't think of the name, and then I embarrassed myself, but they gave it to me. It was for a trivia award thing, and then the last question, and it was Cavaliers themed, which isn't my expertise. I'm more of a Browns person, but then again, excuse me, with my memories and stuff, I go back and I remember all the seasons. But anyway, the last question was a Spurs guy who went to the Spurs, who was in the second round, who won 2 championships. And I said right away, Shannon Brown, and that was incorrect. It was Danny Green, not the Danny Green who the Irishman who ran the Cleveland mob, but it was the basketball player. And I said Shannon Brown, who won 2 championships at the Lakers. But I rattled off right away, and I was incorrect. So I fell up short, and no Canadian Labatt Blue for me.
Was this before or after you fell and hit your head?
Day after.
Day after? Well, you had an excuse then. I mean, heck.
Yeah, that explains a lot.
I mean, yeah, shoot. I mean, you would have been, you may have been a lot sharper, you know?
They didn't take it that way. They laughed really hard. I think my good friend Nick Patone said, this is the hardest I've ever laughed with somebody calling in. But yeah, shout out to those guys. They had a great guest, the Spanish-speaking announcer for the Cavaliers. So it was a really good time over there.
Yeah, those are good guys. Nice. I know all those guys. So yeah. So guys. Yeah, I am drinking a Boulevard 6th glass. I'm going completely opposite of the theme that you guys already established. If I would have thought about it, I would have tried to find something Irish, but I didn't. So this is it's a Belgian quadruple, and it is let's see, 10.2% alcohol. It's a very good beer. If you guys haven't had anything from Boulevard is, I think it's out of St. Louis, and it's excellent stuff. Pretty much anything by Boulevard, and this is one of their finest. It's got a lot of flavor. So if you're averse to a strong flavored beer, you probably won't like this. If you like a little bit extra flavor, then give this a shot if you can find it. But I think this is kind of a beer that's hard to find. So, anyways, I thought it was going to be a fun night, so I got a little something special out.
Yeah, 10%. You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up the Blitz Beverages, and that was quite a segment. It's going to be hard to top, but I think we can do it. So, Kevin, we're gonna give you the floor and let you talk about your Browns fandom and how you became a fan, and some highlights and anything you like to share with us.
Sure. Well, my Browns background, my dad born in Cleveland area, and we moved back here in the late 90s, right around when the Browns were coming back. When I was 4 years old, the Cleveland Browns didn't exist. They had moved on, and that kind of full circle. That's where I am now. That's a big thing in a childhood, that traumatizing, that your team just never existed. And I've been following them since that first year they kicked it off with Couch and the great Phil Dawson, who is the little trivia for you guys, is the second longest NFL player to play in the league, right behind Adam Vinatieri. He was there for the Browns opening season. So they, as rookies, were competing for a job on the Patriots, and Phil Dawson fell short because he had an injury, and the Browns picked him up. So that's a side note there. I grew up living in Lakewood. I'm a part of the Chase Browns backers. Have been my whole life. We just became official a couple of years ago. Chase Avenue. It is. I lived right on Bunts Road, and I would go down the street to St. Luke's, which is, now that the school is Lakewood Catholic Academy, if people listening are familiar with that area. But we would always go back there and play catch, and I would be either Kevin Johnson, or then throughout the years, or I'd be Kellen Winslow, be Quincy Morgan, have my Jeff Garcia jersey on. I remember them all.
Just don't say Braylon Edwards.
No, I would never. He went to that team up north. No. And Charlie Fry threw a dime to him 60 yards when he had no one around him. And he played for the University of Akron, Charlie Fry did. And he was one of my heroes growing up. I ended up playing for Akron, class of 2017, Akron football, with the big hire, Joe Moorhead. But, Charlie Fry threw a perfect pass, 60 yards. It was only the preseason, and no one was within 20 yards of Braylon, and he dropped it. I'll send you guys the clip. That had to be, might have been I would say that was 2004 or 2005, and that was my first experience of a blackout rage when I was just 12 years old. So that was fun. Yeah. But yeah, I've been a fan, and they've won one playoff game, and they've never been on top. They haven't won a division yet in my lifetime, but I love them all the same. Going downtown to the Muni lot, going to various Browns backers organizations, and I just love this team. I've memorized every player, regardless if they were great or they were bad. Love that kid from Ashland, the D tackle, who blocked the field goal, and then Chargers were so embarrassed they lost that they had to move their team.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and but yeah, just me and pretty much what Big Kevin Sports entails is I just support local Cleveland sports podcasts, and I have a second account that highlights shows from around here, and also personalities, and it's just one of my passions has always been broadcasting and the Browns, so I'm all on board for Cleveland sports talk, and that's just a little bit of my background and the Browns. And I played college football. I played at Bay High School. We won the conference for the first time since Dave Zastel back in '91. And that's a little background on me.
Excellent. Appreciate you sharing all that with us.
Thank you for allowing me to have the floor, Your Honor.
Sure thing.
Your Honor.
My honor. Nobody's ever called me that, Kevin. Come on. So on tonight's show, we're going to attempt to talk about the Super Bowl in a roundabout way. Okay, guys, we're going to talk about the two teams that got to the Super Bowl. Obviously, this wasn't the Browns' season. So we kind of want to look at what these two teams did, the paths they took to get there, maybe, what the Browns can learn from that, what we can learn from that as fans. And I'm going to just talk briefly because I wrote an article, came out a couple days ago, and aside from you two, I think 3 other people read it. So at least some people are familiar with it, but
yeah, it was a very good read. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Appreciate it. The title was kind of unjust because I normally don't have a big long title on my article, but I gave it this article kind of like it, or this title kind of like it was a college thesis or something, So concepts in building an NFL winner is discovered during the 2021 NFL season. It's really not, it's really not all that, guys. But anyways, so I came up with some things, but I kind of want to get your thoughts too as to obviously the Bengals got to the Super Bowl one way, the Rams got there kind of almost completely, well, I don't want to say completely the other way, but the other way, and it's kind of a dichotomy, and what can we learn from this? So I guess let's look at a couple things in my article, and then we'll dive into actually comparing the teams, and I'll just go through some of the points I made in the article and some of the questions I asked. And that's, the first thing was, does it take time to build a winner? Because, the Bengals, a lot of us picked, or 2 of us anyways, picked the Bengals to finish last in the division this year. And that wasn't disrespect. That was just still thinking they're a young team and that they were probably not quite there yet. So, and they proved us wrong and probably a lot of other people wrong and did well. So, but there's been this kind of thought that, well, when we've talked about the Browns, it's like, when the Browns start rebuilding, it's like, we might be able to get to the Super Bowl in 2, 3, 4 years. And, and the Bengals, all of a sudden they do this thing and all of a sudden they're just there. So that's kind of blowing that thing out of the water of the thought that it takes time to build a winner. So I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that. So Jeff, why don't you kick it off with your thoughts on what it takes to build a winner and time frame and kind of comparing the traditional thought to what happened with the Bengals.
Yeah, it is an interesting case study for, what is the best path to long-term success in the NFL. And I think you laid out the 2 options that teams in the NFL really tend to follow most frequently. It's like either, we're going to tear it down to the studs and we're going to try to rebuild through the draft, or we're going to sort of, if we think we've got a decent core, we're going to go all in on free agents and try to win now. I think what we're finding maybe is that there's something in the middle that works equally as well. The Browns are, I think, now on that path where, 3-4 years ago they were tearing it down to the studs, and now that they've got some established star players, they don't see the necessity to kind of go all in right now. They want to maintain that winning roster over the near term and hopefully the long term. But I think the one thing that was missing from that, Rod, when you look at what works and why it works, is the culture of the organization at that given point in time. I think probably the reason the Bengals were able to turn it around so fast, where the Browns just kind of continue this cycle, or have continued this cycle, is that we had really had to overcome that losing culture. That 20 years of not tasting success, not knowing what it was like. Not that the Bengals were ultra successful, but I just don't think they had as much of an issue with a losing culture that had to be overcome. So it's easier for a team to turn it around in that scenario. And so those things all put together, I think it's really interesting to look at, how a team like the Bengals can go from worst to first in a couple of years when the Browns kind of wandered in the desert for 20 plus years. And it certainly makes you sit there and think, well, geez, why not us, right? That's kind of every Browns fan's thought this week going into the game. Why not us? Well, I don't know. Maybe we could figure that out at some point. But I think a lot of it has to do with overcoming the culture.
So, Kevin, let's get your thought on that. As far as the Browns versus the Bengals, history of losing. I mean, the Bengals have been in more playoffs more recently. But before some of those playoffs, which I don't know how long it's been since they've been in the playoffs. It's been a while, but they had a stretch there where they were in the playoffs under Marvin Lewis several years or several times, and they lost all the time. But before Marvin Lewis, they were horrible. They had several first overall picks in a row and things. So what's your thought comparing the two? And do you agree with Jeff that the culture is easier to change down there?
Oh yeah, I really like what Jeff is saying. When you think, Browns and Bengals throughout the years, the Bengals had not won a playoff game since, or was it the division? I think they didn't either win the division. I think it was the first time since 1990, or it was their first playoff win since 90. It was one of those two, but
yeah, it was their first playoff win.
Okay, okay, that's right. And they win the division. But like you said, right, with Carson and Ocho Cinco and all that, but you got to remember that the Bengals had a competent owner. We had an owner that more Randy Lerner, who's more concerned about Aston Villa and his English Premier League team. And if you guys didn't know this, they placed in 20th, which if you're outside of the top 17, you get relegated. So his team got relegated and lost millions of dollars, and then he ended up selling the Browns. So, it's really hard to look at how the Browns have tried to build up a team and stuff, even though I love the players throughout that, like I said before. But, it's really weird with the matchup between these two, because the Browns are 5-1 against the Bengals since Baker has come along. Joey Burrow has never beaten Baker Mayfield.
Baker likes playing against the Bengals.
Yeah. I mean, this year earlier it was 41-15, and then obviously last year, the 100th year of the the NFL anniversary, September 17th, which was my birthday. I think that one was the home win on Thursday Night Football, and then later on that season was the Baker to DPJ famous last drive and score touchdown. So the reason I say that is, it seems like I won't go as far as saying any given Sunday, but you got to have a little bit of luck. You got to have a couple of things that go for you that you don't see as a fan until it happens. Especially with the Browns in the past. Lady Luck is not favorite of us at all. Bringing up Denver and the helmet-to-helmet collision against the Chiefs in the playoffs last year. Looking back at this season, the pass interference called on MJ Stewart that the
Chargers,
yeah,
right?
The Chargers wide receiver was ripping his arm off.
Yeah.
And that game we lost 47-42. And then at Kansas City, the Scottish Hammer didn't know that if he dropped the fumble that he can pick it up and kick it. He tried to run for it. And there was a number of moments in that game, and I wish him nothing but the best in his future endeavors. And then Myles Garrett. I mean, Brown's Twitter would blast off and show pictures and stuff, and there would be instances where there's 6 times they could have thrown a flag for hold, and they would be lucky. We'd be lucky if they threw a flag once. And then the kicking situation fell apart, and special teams, and not so much kick returns or punt returns anymore this day and age, but kicking, as we can see from the Bengals and playing field position and converting those big time field goals. That's a really big factor. So, and another thing that has happened throughout is the Browns have been plagued with injuries. Luckily enough, this year, secondary was healthy for the most part, but I think a number of times last year that we even made the playoff round, we would have the top 3 cornerbacks out for that game. So you're playing 4th, 5th, 6th string players and trying to find an identity. And then these new young kids come in, and again, we're plagued by injuries. And this season, the big thing that I observed was the tackle position for the Browns. And another thing is Kareem Hunt. I think when Kareem Hunt was still healthy and playing, I think we were 4-1 at one point, or were we 4-2? It was one of those two. But earlier that in the year, week 1, Conklin went down, and then his backup,
Hubbard.
Hubbard,
right?
Hubbard. He's out for the year. And then Conklin comes back, and for 4 games, he would have to leave early off the field. And at the same time, Wilkes, he would have to leave the game. And now we have a center playing tackle, or a rookie tackle out of Cincinnati, Hudson III playing tackle. And now the tight ends have to focus more on containing that pass rush, and they can't go out and run their routes. And then we have Stonehands, McGee, Hooper dropping balls. It's just a number of things happen. And, with the OBJ drama and, oh God,
There were a lot of Stonehands this year too. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And there's not a lot of things that went right for us this year. But I think a big thing is that we have to have the 1-2 punch of Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. I think that was our identity last year, and people put a lot of it on Baker. But throughout the year, I think it was obvious to all of us that he was really, really banged up. And when we're comparing these two teams, Burrow would get pressured more and get sacked more. But Baker was just unlucky. He went for a spear tackle and hurt his shoulder. And, it's just, I don't know what you guys think. I think it's a matter of luck. It's not necessarily which team is more skilled than the other, but Just from my observations, it seems like when you look at these two organizations, I picked them last too, by the way. And there was just a lot of things that went wrong for us this year and a lot of things that went right for them this year.
Yeah, you don't want to take anything away from the Bengals.
Absolutely.
They earned this trip to the Super Bowl. They had to make it. They had to win. What they won 10 games.
Yes, and
that
most recent one, they lost the coin toss, and everyone said that they're definitely going to lose. But luck would have it, they intercepted Mr. Mahomes and won it with the field goal.
Yeah, so they won their 10 games, and they've made it to the Super Bowl. So you can't take anything away from them. But on the other side, it's we don't want to turn this into a Bengals and Rams worse obsession, because the Browns they've had their way with the Bengals the last several times, and I'm not counting the last game of the season, because that was a preseason game pretty much. But over the past two seasons, the Browns have beat them. So it's real hard to sit here and say, wow, the Browns need to be a lot more like the Bengals. Well, the Browns are beating the Bengals. But what we can do is look at the differences, and I think I think Jeff made some great points. It's not only the culture, it's things like if you look at penalties, Bengals, at least early on, the Bengals were near the best in the league at fewest penalties, and special teams and things like this. Their defense was opportunistic. Burrow, who was sacked almost as much as anybody in the league. I looked it up from my article, and the Bengals offensive line gave up the third most sacks in the league. Well, normally that's not a good thing, but that just tells you that Joe Burrow was able to recover from those situations, of being in probably second and long and third and long more often than most other guys could. So that just tells you that the quarterback's doing his job. So, the Rams are a whole nother situation, but yeah, I mean, the Bengals deserve credit.
On that, when you observe the Rams, do you think that they kind of came from the school of thought of they did the blueprint of what Tampa Bay did last year with these big names, and this season it showed, at least Tampa Bay, it didn't work out, but it seems like the Rams it's come play in LA and let's bring in these stars and let's try to see if this thing can work out.
Well, let's talk about that. So Jeff, we'll let you kick this off. So the idea of going all in or close to it and going all in, because you have a window to win in, because I don't know, maybe I don't know Aaron Donald's contract situation or some of these other guys, but maybe the Rams felt like this was their window. So they do this
Right.
Matt Stafford trade. They give up a third round pick. They give up Jared Goff, a third round pick in 21, and then first round picks in 22 and 23. So the player the Lions picked in 21, I think, is the DB who really didn't play much last year. Now the first round pick, obviously, in 22 is going to be pick number 31 or 32, and who knows what pick number they'll get in 23 out of that first round pick. So you hear that they're giving up Goff, 2 firsts and a third, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, they gave up a ton for Matt Stafford. And then you see that it doesn't turn out to be as much as it sounds like. So they give up that for Stafford. For Von Miller, they gave up a second and a third in 22, and all he did, I think, was lead the team in sacks or something with like 10 sacks. I'm not sure. I looked briefly at their page. Did he really have more sacks than?
This year, I think with Miller, he had a total of 5 sacks according to my paper.
Okay. I figured I went to their team page, but that didn't seem right that he led the team in sacks, so I figured that was wrong. So that and OBJ they just signed. I don't think they gave up anything for him. So
No.
So the question, Jeff, is is this going all in? I mean, I don't know what they paid for any free agents before the season or anything. I don't know their roster, that well. But do you think they're close to going all in with these moves?
Oh, definitely, they're all in. The thing that you have to consider when looking at the Rams is they've won 55 games over the last 5 seasons. So they're averaging 11 wins per season over the last 5 years. That's a window. That's saying, we've got talent, we can beat people, we just need to get over the hump. Okay, so to your point of trading future draft choices and so forth, that's pretty low risk. I mean, they have a very talented roster, and they have players who are in their prime who have a track record of winning. I guess that's the difference between them and the Bengals. The Bengals, they had their stretch back in 2011, 2015, where they were good. They were winning 10 games a season, right? But it's been a few years for the Bengals, where for the Rams, it's they know how to win now, and so it completely makes sense for them to go all in. Okay, now when you compare that to the Browns and where we are in the rebuilding process, okay, I mean, the Browns have won 10 games twice in the last 22 years. Okay, so that's not a base to go all in on. The Rams have that base to go all in on. The Bengals, I think, they're winning because of some really talented young guys that don't know that they're not great yet. Did I say that right?
Yes.
They haven't figured out that they're not great yet. They still believe that they're great. Okay, the league hasn't smacked them around enough.
They haven't played long
Joe
enough
Burrow
to
got
be
his knee
great.
tore up.
They haven't played long enough to be great. I mean, it's no,
Right.
it's no offense to them.
Oh,
they're building.
Rob,
they're
you were correct. 9.5 sacks. Sorry about that. ESPN, of course,
Okay.
they said how many sacks he had against the NFC, and that's the main stat, and it was 5. So, but that's not the season stats. ESPN.
So he had 9.5. How many did Aaron Donald have this year? Because he usually has like 20.
And then he also had 3 sacks in the playoffs, so that would make 12.5 on total for Mr. Miller. So you were correct. I had to look it up.
Do you have Aaron Donald's number in front of you there?
Yes, I have it right here. Now I'm questioning what I wrote.
So Von Miller was a perfect rental for the Rams.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, he was a perfect rental.
Absolutely, 100% agree. This year, Aaron Donald had 12.5 sacks in the regular season, tied for 7.
So he's still at the league. He's just he normally has a few more than that. So I was just kind of curious. Okay. Yeah. I forgot where I was going to go next now, guys, because we got tied up in the sacks there.
We were going over the Rams and who they acquired and them going all in this year.
I remember what I was going to say is I want either one of you guys to explain to me the situation of Eric Weddle, the Rams free safety. How does a guy not play all season and then come back and play? Maybe I'm wrong with this, but as far as I know, he didn't play all season, and he comes back and he joins the team for the playoffs. He
was retired.
He was retired, and he comes and he joins the team for the playoffs, and now he's going to play in the Super Bowl. How do you do that?
He played a lot of pickup basketball to stay in shape.
Oh my gosh, how does that work? I mean, can anybody just decide this week that they want to join one of these two teams?
Well, to Kevin's point, sometimes luck is in your favor and things just go well.
Yeah, I guess.
He's 37 years old, and like you said, he came in right towards the end, right around week 16 there, and he's been playing ever since. So yeah, it's a little bit of luck. Also, if you remember with the Rams, they right before the season started, we all got a notification that they traded for Sonny Mitchell. There's been a big part of that backfield, the 1-2 punch that they've developed with their coaching staff, and
yeah, they've had a few guys help out back there, yeah, haven't they?
Yeah, and it's just it really is like it's not even a next man up. It's more of a reload that they substitute with Robert Woods going down on the IR, and then OBJ ends up there, and that Cooper Kupp with a fantastic season that I haven't seen in a long time out of any wide receiver.
Well, because nobody's ever done it before.
Yeah.
Honestly,
could be why.
Honestly, nobody's ever put up numbers like he's put up. He had 1,900 receiving yards this season, and what 20? I don't have it right in front of me. 20. It was 20 or 20 plus touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, I think those are both records for a receiver.
Yeah, it was definitely. I know the receiving yards was definitely over 1,900, but didn't our good buddy Josh Gordon do that?
No, I think
1,900.
No, he had like
1,700.
He had like 1,403 games, but I think it was only 1,600 on the season.
Okay, and he had 3 quarterbacks, if you remember.
Something like that.
Yeah. No, Josh Gordon had like 700 or 800 yards in 3 games. But I think he ended up with like 1,600 yards or something that season or something like that. It was a really big number, but I believe that the 1,900 plus is a record.
Yeah, with
wide receiver.
Tom, the 1,900, and he was also first in receptions with the 145. And,
yeah, his numbers are crazy. He definitely. I don't even know if you demean him by saying he should be in the talk as MVP. Almost, I mean, I don't know if he's if he's just the guy who gets MVP or if it's between him and and a few other guys or what. But man, if he doesn't get MVP votes, something's wrong to put up numbers like that. Sure. But yeah, I mean, Robert Woods was having a pretty nice season before he went down too, and Van Jefferson's a quality receiver. Matt Stafford had, and again, I'm not saying Matt Stafford had it easy or anything, but he had some good guys to throw to, and he performed. So, quite an opportunity for Stafford, and for me, it's good to see Stafford in a situation like that to get some accolades. I don't want to go on too much of a tangent here, guys, but I get really tired of the ring counting and just a quarterback on a bad team is bad because he doesn't win a title, and a quarterback on a good team that goes to playoffs is good because he does, even if his numbers suck. Like Jimmy Garoppolo is always better than Matt Stafford because Jimmy Garoppolo wins a playoff game and Matt Stafford doesn't get to the playoffs when he's on the Lions. Mm-hmm. Okay, give me a break.
And even with his bad years on the Lions, remember that Hail Mary threw when he broke his ribs and they called the pass interference. I think he beat us on
that was against the Browns.
So, yeah, that was a great year.
We all know that every highlight they show of anybody's career is going to be against the Browns, Kevin.
Of course.
So one other point from my article, and then we'll just move on to other stuff, is a franchise quarterback a must? And when I said this, I was talking about really all 4 quarterbacks in the championship game. So, I mean, you're talking about let's see, 4 pretty, 3 quarterbacks who I think everybody would agree are franchise guys, and then Jimmy Garoppolo. And again, I'm not going to sit here and slam Jimmy Garoppolo, but the guy I think went through the playoffs with, at least until the championship game, he had not thrown a touchdown pass. So he's not a guy who was carrying his team. The defense and the running game was carrying that San Francisco team. So his team can say he's a winner and everything, but they weren't winning because of him. He's out there to not turn the ball over to do his job, and that doesn't make him a great quarterback. He's doing his job though. So as a franchise quarterback, a must in order to win in today's NFL football. I'm going to leave it at that and let you guys discuss. So, Jeff, why don't you kick that off?
Well, didn't Trent Dilfer win a Super Bowl?
Yes,
he did. It's been a long time.
2000. Yep. One of the greatest defenses ever.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you could probably make a laundry list of less than franchise quarterbacks who won Super Bowls because of their supporting cast. I guess the short answer is, do you need to have a franchise quarterback to win championships? The answer is no, but it sure as hell makes it a lot easier. If you have Otto Graham, you can dominate the AFL, right? If you have if you have a superstar quarterback, you have Patrick Mahomes, you're going to be in the championship game pretty much every year. If you have Tom Brady, you're going to win 7 or 8 or however many Super Bowls he's won. So yeah, it sure as hell makes it easier if you do. Yeah, and you just have to be that much less perfect everywhere else, because he's the guy that touches the ball on every play offensively, and so his contribution just matters more than everybody else. You can have a great receiver be completely shut out in a game and win if your running game is dominant, and vice versa. Whereas the quarterback has an off day, pretty much your offense is having an off day.
Yeah. Kevin, what are your thoughts?
Oh yeah, I agree. Just thinking about it, it was excellent that you brought up Dilfer. That's one of the ones that every time it comes ahead, it's like, well, we don't really need that franchise QB, but looking at these past decade and 2 decades, Tom Brady has been the real one that's been the trendsetter, but you're not going to get a Tom Brady. You're not going to get a 6th round quarterback that wasn't really scouted by anyone in that combination with Belichick. So that in itself is, I don't want to say luck again. It's not luck. It's just he's one of the best players to ever do it. But looking at the past Super Bowl winners, one that comes to mind is Philadelphia when they ran the Philly special. And this year they happened to make the playoffs with Jalen Hurts, and their quarterback that won that Super Bowl, they've moved on completely. So it's a matter of establishing your team and having guys that want to win for your organization. Now, for quarterbacks, all these teams that were in the playoffs, even Garoppolo, who hasn't performed as well, but when you go Stafford, Burrow, Allen, Carr, Dak Prescott, Rodgers, Big Ben, these are guys who have been with their teams for a while now. Not so much Stafford. I think Stafford is the one that the veteran that was brought in to perform. I think he's the one that stands out, but it was kind of similar to Tom Brady, like I said before, when he went down to Tampa Bay. So that's that oddity that stands out, but everyone else is part of their organizations to be built up to something greater. So yes, you need a franchise quarterback. You need to have the guy, and that's been the Browns' issue throughout the years. You got to have the guy, and you have to have faith in him, and you have to build a team around him. And that's just my perspective from games I've watched over the years. There are those oddities that this team comes in and they win a Super Bowl and then they move on from everyone that was a part of that, and they do a complete rebuild again. But especially this year's playoffs, all those quarterbacks have been on their teams for at least 4 or more years. So, with the exception to Jalen Hurts, and I don't know what they're going to end up doing with Carr with Las Vegas, but yeah, I think you gotta have the guy that's the face of your organization.
I think there's one more thing, Rod.
Go ahead.
Your guy needs to get hot at the right time. And you made me think of this when you talked about Philly, Kevin, is Nick Foles, MVP of Super Bowl 52. Joe Flacco, MVP of Super Bowl 47. Those are two guys that was the pinnacle of their career, right?
But yeah, they were never any better after that.
No.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So, even if you do have an average quarterback or, just a non-franchise type quarterback who plays extremely well at the right time, you can get it done. Again, it's a lot easier the other way, but that can happen. Just doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, and and you make a good point, Kevin, with these guys being with their team for a long time, because that I don't want to use the word chemistry. Just being with the team or with the coach and kind of knowing what's going on and being on the same page and everything. I think that makes a difference. But with Stafford is a guy who's been in the league long enough that he probably doesn't need that as much. So definitely a good point. So I think I agree with you guys on the quarterback. The only reason the only way you can win without a franchise quarterback is if you've got just an outstanding defense and an outstanding running game, and that's just really hard to do in today's NFL, because even the best defenses are still going to have games where they give up 20 points. It's just hard to have a defense nowadays that completely shuts a team down. It happens, but it's really hard to do it consistently. So
the league is too pass friendly.
Yeah.
It's too offense happy for that to be a successful strategy to win championships. I mean, the Bears over the years have tried that strategy. There have been a few other examples of really stout defenses and questionable offenses or one-dimensional offenses. But I think you and I talked about this earlier today, Rod, that, to win in the NFL today, you got to be able to throw the ball.
Yeah. So let me bring up something else, guys. So we've talked about the quarterback. Let's go a step further and talk about the wide receiver. Okay. Because look at the teams who were successful in the playoffs. How many of them had either one dominant receiver or two dominant receivers? Okay, look at the Rams with Cooper Kupp, the Bengals with Jamar Chase. Let's see, the 49ers with Deebo Samuel, and I mean the Bills. I don't think it's I mean, they have a number of receivers, but
they had Davis comes to mind, and then
Davis was hot at the end, Gabriel Davis, but
then Kansas City, it was Hill and Kelsey,
Tyreek Hill, obviously,
per usual.
And I'm forgetting, okay, I'll leave it at that, because the more players I name, the more players I forget their names. So, anyways, here we go. But you guys see where I'm going is, and I'm not saying the QB is not important. I think the QB is important, but it almost feels like you need a dominant receiver to make it deep in the playoffs. So do you guys feel like that is true now? Is a dominant receiver more important than a dominant running game at this point, or are they completely, or are they two separate things?
Who would you like to take that one?
I'll let you go first, Kevin. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So I would say you're pretty spot on. Spot on, as my friends would say over in the UK. Spot on. If you just think just recently.
I love how the Irish accent just pops up sometimes.
Yeah, it's very strange. It's kind of
That's
a
great.
road where it goes in between the Ohio, like I said earlier, like with my last name, McAndrews or McAndrews. So it kind of pops on and off. But yeah, you know what? You have a really good point. Just because thinking of the past with Kansas City is always they've had Tyreek Hill. Buffalo had Diggs that past season. I think
Diggs, that's who I was trying to think of. I'm sorry.
Mike Evans, Tampa Bay. Is it Marquise Brown? The Ravens wide receiver who went down earlier this year. And I think there's definitely something to that. I mean, if you just go through the teams that made the playoffs this season, they all had a big name at wide receiver number one. So you got to find. And last year for the Browns, I think you guys would agree that was Jarvis for us. He was Mr. Reliable. And unfortunately this year, I sort of remember, sorry to take it back to the Browns, but I remember him taking
This is a Browns podcast. So hey.
Yeah, I remember him taking a hard shot to that kidney area, and I don't think he ever recovered from that. I think it had to be week 6. I think him and Baker both went down with the extreme injuries that same week. But you got to have that franchise wide receiver. Now, does it result in wins all the time? No. Perfect example, Josh Gordon. We were an awful team, an awful organization, and he was by far our best team. But playoffs are definitely a different story. But there is this trend here that the players that were best in the regular season have that transfer over to the playoffs. Even rather it is the wide receiver one or your slot guy, as Brady has shown us throughout the years with Edelman out of Kent State, converted quarterback to wide receiver. And before that, Wes Welker, all these slot guys. But as the league's evolving, they now realize they don't have to be outside at that wide receiver one spot. They can move on to the inside, and then you have your possession receivers on the outside and your speed towards the inside to get that mismatch with the linebackers. So, I think there really is something to that. That you gotta have that guy of a wide receiver, or at least have mathematically the options to be able to go to a number of different players. Like if let's say that they're just gonna focus on that guy throughout the game, and you can't even give him the ball, throw it to the tight end, dump it off to the running back, like we've seen in these playoffs. So Garoppolo is not throwing touchdown passes, but they're moving the ball downfield because with their spread look West Coast style offense, all it is just short passes and creative running plays and just moving the ball top to bottom. And with the Bengals, it's a lot of risky deep ball plays, or it's Mixon going right up the middle. But how lucky do you think that the Bengals feel that they got these 3 young kids to be their receiver core? I mean, that really stood out to me this year. I mean, I didn't see it coming. Like you said earlier, you said that the two of you said they'll come in last. I picked the same thing. And well, on the side note, I said we'll have 12 wins. So, it's a lot of things I said.
I think I said 12 or 13, Kevin, so don't feel bad. So
they fooled me again. Yeah, and I said that we'll be in the wild card when they had 0 wins. So, we all make mistakes. So yeah, I love that topic with wide receivers and that option to be successful in the playoffs and even in the regular season. So thank you. Yeah, that's just my thoughts on it.
Yeah. So go ahead, John.
I'm not so sure that this isn't a chicken and egg kind of a thing. And I'll frame it this way. How many receiving yards do you think Cooper Kupp would have had in 2021 in the Kevin Stefanski offense?
Probably about 800, which probably twice as many as anybody on the Browns had. But I think
exactly.
Yeah.
So I think to be a league leading receiver, you have to be in the right offense. Okay. You also have to be a really good receiver. So if that guy's good and he's in the Browns offense, good in that offense is 800. Good in a really strong passing offense is 1800. Okay. So yeah, you have to have those guys. You also have to have the offensive philosophy to make it work. And I think we knew coming into this season that that wasn't our gig. We weren't going to be throwing OBJ the ball 15 times a game, and he wasn't going to be racking up tons of yards, and that's probably why he got pissed off. Okay, but
probably
again,
probably
it wasn't
quit trying.
It wasn't a news flash to anybody.
No.
So I think your points are really good, Kevin, about you need to have the speed guy, you need to have the possession guy, and you need to utilize both of them. And when you're playing a very conservative offense that doesn't throw the ball more than 5 yards very often, it's going to be hard for a guy like Cooper Kupp or OBJ or whoever to put up a huge season. So I think to win in the NFL, you have to have both. You have to have a quarterback who can throw those balls, and you have to have a receiver who can catch them. And in the NFL, that equals success when you have both. When you can consistently complete passes, because it is such a pass-friendly league. Now what happens is when you make that desperation throw and the defensive back just kind of has a hold of your jersey a little bit, guess what? You get the DPI, right? When you're the Browns and you're not really good at doing that, you don't get that call.
The wide receiver holds on to your corner's jersey, and your corner gets called for a defensive pass.
Right. So Jarvis Landry, for instance. I mean, possession receiver, a fairly small guy. You need to have a big guy. You need to have a big guy as your possession receiver. Okay. So you need one of your tight ends to be able to hang on to the ball if that's what you're going to ask them to do, is be the possession receiver. Okay. You need the speed guy to be able to create separation, and run the right route. So there's so many different factors that play into a successful passing offense, and I just don't think the Browns executed any of them very well this year. And what you end up with is a one-dimensional running offense that just doesn't put up a hell of a lot of points.
Yeah, and you know what? That is a good point with the Browns in the playoffs last year that I didn't really observe. That he is a really smaller guy compared to these players that are leading right now in the playoffs. And do you guys, a side note, do you guys think this is the end for Hollywood Higgins? Because he was another guy last year that he played very big in that Chiefs game in that role, but since then the day before a game would start, they'd say personal reasons, and I was really disappointed in the taking it back to the Cleveland Browns wide receiver core this year. And even though Baker was absolutely he had 5 injuries at once. It's not that the other positions were doing them any favors. Even though I love the guys, but just because of my fandom. But with Kareem Hunt going down, now your offensive that style of that power run football, and you don't have any tackles, and your tight end, your primary tight end, you brought in for 4 years, and he's the third highest paid tight end. He won't catch it. So it's like, what are they supposed to do? There's a lot to fix, you guys, with Higgins and DPJ. It's like, where are we going forward with this? And you know what? DPJ is young enough that you did see a little signs of him making some progress, but overall the offense had no identity because, you can't establish the run when you have a third string center and second string guard and a second string center going out to play the other tackle. We need our big guys up front. That's been our identity. That's how it worked last year with Hunt jumping over the goal line with the touchdown and him and Nick Chubb having that chemistry together. And if you guys remember earlier this year, our running backs coach went down and he tore his knee. So maybe that played a factor too. I mean, nothing went right for us this year. That's just what I saw. Nothing went right for us this year, especially on offense.
Yeah, I think I think there's going to be a major turnover in the wide receiver room, and we talked about this. It's probably been 2 shows ago now, but I think more than likely DPJ, Schwartz, and if I had to guess, DPJ, Schwartz, and Demetric Felton are going to be kind of the basis for the wide receiver room, going into next season. And the Browns are going to add probably a free agent and 2 draft picks to that room. That would be my guess.
That'll be interesting too, because we have quite a history of free agents coming in and not necessarily performing up to their contract, but through the NFL draft, historically, it's been the better option for us. And
I think I think they'll definitely take a wide receiver in either the first or second round. But yeah, that'd be my guess. So, guys, I'm gonna do a quick shout out here. Then I've got one more question for you, and we'll probably wrap things up. So. I need to give a shout out to Justin LaRue. That's at JU LaRue. Justin works at the Mall of America in Minneapolis, and Justin contacted me, and he sent me out some goodies, guys. He sent me out. He works for Pepper Palace there, and he sent me out some salsa and some hot sauce. And we tried this stuff out within the past week, and he sent this 5-pepper fire roasted salsa, and I'm somebody that I like salsa heat, but normally not like really really hot stuff. And man, this salsa is really excellent. I really like that. I tried the garlic and pepper hot sauce, and it was good. Now Ethan, our son, tried the Doc Habanero hot sauce. He liked that, and he took that back to school with him. I didn't want any part of the habanero, just being honest. So, but shout out to definite shout out to Justin. We're going to try to get him on for a segment to talk a little bit on a future show, but really nice of him to send some stuff out. We appreciate it. So, but getting back to the show here, talking about the QBs and the wide receivers, and just thinking about the playoffs, and the Bengals, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Rams, even thinking Cowboys and some of these other teams. One last question: Is a conservative offense smart now with the rules, or is it smarter to build your team around the QB, the wide receivers, and bombs away, and trying to get a couple really good wide receivers, and just going for it more often? I think I'll just leave it at that. And Jeff, I'll let you start this one off.
Justin Herbert wants to go for it on every down.
He does. He's pretty good at it too.
You know what? And I have a hard time disagreeing with that. I think you need to be aggressive offensively, and I think you need to take chances. And playing it close to the vest and playing it safe is a recipe for mediocrity in the NFL. Sometimes, though, you are limited by personnel to what you can do. So I don't necessarily think that teams play that way by choice all the time. There may be some coaches who's that's their philosophy, but you need the passing game to score points to win the game for you, and then you need the running game to kill the clock. And I think that has historically been the formula for success in football in general, right? What we need to figure out here in Cleveland is how can we put a successful passing offense on the field like we had at the end of 2020 in 2022. And whatever combination of players and philosophies that takes, we're going to need to come up with it, because otherwise we're wasting some really good talent on this roster in a window where we should be winning 10 games every year like the Rams.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, when you really think about it, nothing really much has changed in the league this past year. Teams with that passing style of offense, with the leaders, and who has the most touchdowns compared to interceptions. And the offense is either going to be a short game, it's going to be a balanced game. But for the Browns, it's a power offense, and other teams use this West Coast style where, excellent that you brought that up, Jeff. It's that the example with Herbert, they would just keep going for it. And, Stefanski had that mindset, especially early on in the season. And the thing, another thing that really stood out on the side now, when I'm thinking about the Browns now, is a couple of those, the media would absolutely go after him because he went for it in a situation and didn't kick it. And then in the second half of the season, he would do kicking in those opportunities. The kicker would miss it. That's his only job being on the team. He misses the damn field goal, and they're like, oh, why didn't he go for it? It's like, oh, how about you shut up? We have more problems right now. It's like, geez, oh, man. Can we just have some positivity for Pete's sake? My God. Like, oh, why does he keep going for it? Oh, they kicked it. Oh, why don't they go for it? It's like, oh, you guys and the clickbait and stuff, Oh, sorry, I had to just let that out there. I'm trying not to have this. I go in and out with my rogue. The more Guinness I have, and then the more I come to and get passionate about my Browns, I go back to my Americanism. So we're getting there. We're getting there, boys. We're gonna be okay. But yeah, I really think that when you look at it, the players that throw interceptions. I mean, the guy who stole the crab legs. He had that one year 30 touchdowns and 33 interceptions. Jameis Winston, with Tampa Bay, with that piece of garbage Todd Monken as the offensive coordinator, and now he's in college, because he can't show his face in the NFL because he said, "Oh, I didn't even call plays. I wasn't a part of it." Yeah, but you're offensive coordinator. Can you plan out some plays? For God's sakes. Oh, that monkey.
Did you cash your paychecks?
Oh. well, Freddie's calling the plays. Why are you here? Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely you can't turn the ball over in the game of football. Now turnover on downs, and 2-point conversions. They've been doing a lot of this PPR that I'm a big fan of, and with the percentages and stuff. I think we saw, especially earlier on in the year, that it is more. It's a better choice to actually go for it in certain situations. I know that an article came out earlier in the year, the Cleveland Browns, that they were the number one ranked as a staff and efficiency, and like you see, starting off, we're not even in the offseason yet, and we have executives and coaching staff members going to different teams right now.
Yeah.
I think other teams noticed that, despite how our offense ended up playing this year. But you can't be there's you're not gonna have you're not gonna if it's hard to explain because Baker when he was good last year he had those moments where he appeared to be a Brett Favre type
Yeah.
of player, and you can win with a Brett Favre, and you can win for a long time with a Brett Favre type of player.
Yeah.
But what you got to have, you also have to have a little bit of help, and you really got to switch. I mean, can't keep running that damn ball when you don't have people that can block for a really talented kid who we took a chance on, who had his knee looked like he stepped on a landmine playing at Georgia. His knee exploded, and he's become a fan favorite. And I mean, it's like, well, why don't they run it more? He had 12 attempts, but he's averaging 5 yards. It's like, oh, should we let's do 40 runs and let's get this guy hurt? It's like, what would you like this staff to? How about you call the plays? How about you show me? It's like, oh God. And he said,
I'd rather see him play for 10 years.
Exactly. Me too, 100%. And but the point I was making is that these quarterbacks are pocket quarterbacks. They don't need the bootleg or the play action. They can just sit there and they can dump it because they have the options to go to. From the question you asked before, they have more than whatever the called play is. They make the reads. They have, okay, not him. Oh, I got my drop down still, and he's definitely open. And they know when to hold on to it and take a sack, like Mr. Burrow, who's going to be playing in the Super Bowl. And I know you said this is the last segment and we're running out of time, but it could work both ways is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah. So guys, we have to give some predictions for the Super Bowl. I don't know why, but we will. So I'm going to go first.
Okay.
I'm going to be completely honest, guys. I see this game and it's like, well, it's the Bengals. I don't really want to root for the Bengals, but I've got friends who are Bengals fans, so it's not going to kill me if the Bengals win because I'll be happy for some people. And the Rams, if the Rams win, it's OBJ, but who cares? Stafford and Cooper Kupp and some of these other guys, but they're quality players, so I'm not going to hate that either. So I kind of want to see a good game. Don't really have a rooting interest is kind of how I see it, even though, a lot of people in this area are rooting for the Bengals. But for me, I just want to see a good game. My score prediction is I think it's going to be a tight game, which isn't how Super Bowls usually go, but I'm going to predict it anyways. I'm gonna go with Rams 27-24, and I think they're going to score a touchdown to go up 27-24, and it's going to be Cooper Kupp receiving that touchdown within probably the last minute or two of the game. So 27-24 Rams. And Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting looking at this game. I for one am not one of the people in the area that will be rooting on these Bengals. I know they got technically you could say 4 Buckeyes on the team, but let's just say or 5 Buckeyes, but let's just go with the 4. I've always loved Ohio State. My family, a lot of them went there and stuff, but Cincinnati is more of they're more Kentucky than they are Ohio in my eyes. So at least growing up, that was the saying. And across other sports, for Cleveland, they've always, the Reds, Battle of Ohio. It's been enough trash talk, and we don't need another one of our division rivals to win it all. We have already had the Ravens and the Steelers win it. So, but actually looking at it, the spread's 48.5, and I'm taking the under. I'm going to say that the LA Rams are going to pull it off and win 24-20. And I think the key to this game is going to be whoever wins the turnover battle. And when I say that, it's not just interceptions and fumbles. It's going to be who loses those key moments. They can't get that first down, the turnover on downs I'm accounting for, who can't convert in this. When do you punt? When do you, because the Bengals, I think they definitely, their kicker has 2 field goals in him easily. But I really think that the Rams are going to be up early and be able to maintain that. So I have the Rams winning 24-20, and the spreads, they're giving LA 4.5. So
4.5. So
yeah. So
we both
I'm
got the
heading-
Bengals winning, with the points.
I got the Rams. I have the Rams 24-20.
Yeah, but if you against the spread, we're both picking the Bengals. So
Yep.
you're taking the under. I'm taking I pretty much intentionally took the over. Jeff, I know which way you're going on the over under at 48.5. What's your score prediction?
Well, I think experience is going to be the determining factor in the Super Bowl. The Rams have it, the Bengals don't. The Rams are going to jump out to a big lead, and the Bengals are going to try to play catch up. But I think they're going to run out of their magic pixie dust that's taken them this far. And the Rams are going to win by 9. It's going to be 36-27 Rams, and it really won't be that close.
I can see that.
Well, I mean, most Super Bowls, I don't think end up being that close. At least not recently, have they? So,
no.
So it's probably a more realistic score prediction, So we'll see. But
I'm sure the league would love to see a close game like you guys predicted. I don't know that this has got the makeup for that.
It's probably not going to happen. So we're all taking the Rams.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens.
Looks like old Cleveland, Ohio, and the Sons of the Lake Erie. These 3 guys are not big fans of the Bengals. What you said.
I tried to be objective. I picked against the Bengals the last couple of weeks. I picked them to win their first playoff game, I think. But
that's kind of the way it works on this podcast. Is that when we're in agreement that something's going to happen one way, it generally happens the other way.
Yeah. So the Bengals will have a pretty good shot now, I would say.
Oh, believe me, my regular season, I was fantastic at picking games. It was great. I'd be like, what would screw the Browns over the most? And throughout picking all the games throughout the year, I was in the second top tier of the ESPN pick'em games. And then when the playoffs came around, this past round and the round before, I had 1 win. So so it looks like congratulations to the Bengals, and celebrate and don't burn the city down.
Yeah, Kevin, I put tweets out for a couple rounds of the playoffs, and I was wrong on almost every game. So yeah, it was pretty tough. Yeah, it was tough going. It made the picks made sense to me, but yeah, they were tough to pick this year. So anyways, guys, so this has been great. So I want to give you guys a chance for some closing words. Kevin, everybody can follow you at Big Kevin Sports, and I'm gonna give you a chance to give a shout out for anything else that you'd like to at this point too, and any closing words you'd like to leave everybody with.
Sure. Thank you, and thank you both for having me on. It was definitely a privilege and a great honor. I've been a fan of both of yours for a while now, and we've obviously been friends. It was great to be on, and at moments I get a little excited, but I mean that I had a blast with you guys. And for me, you could search Kevin McAndrews, and it's all Big Kevin Sports. Username at Big Kevin Sports. You can also find anywhere on social media. It's Big Kev at Big Kevin Sports, and that's across Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and pretty much what I'm doing is just getting connected with these Cleveland Browns local podcasts and supporting them, and trying to build up they're building up the fans, get the viewership up, and really spread this Browns backers more of what the Browns fan base should be, which is we're all in this together, not necessarily what Browns Twitter is like sometimes with the experts, but it's more of like a sense of, hey, we all talk about the Browns. We're not these ESPN guys who say something controversial and then people tune in the next day for the old radio trick. It's just we're all just passionate fans. We're all Browns backers. We all love this team, and we wouldn't have it any other way. So yeah, thank you so much for having me on Big Kevin Sports across all platforms, and I look forward to us getting together again.
Sounds great, Kevin. We appreciate it. Jeff, any closing words?
I just have one question, Rod. How many podcasts do I need to do to score some free salsa?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess I could probably put you on the Twitter account. But when somebody contacts us, I'm going to give them my address.
Right.
So I've still got some left over. So if you want to stop over, by all means.
All right.
I got quite a
pity salsa.
And no, I mean it. I'm serious when I say it's good. I'm not just saying that to be nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to check him out. That sounds great.
Yeah, I mean it's yeah, I mean it's like it's got heat to it, but it's a good heat, and I'm not somebody who likes super hot stuff, but it was just really good. But yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. It's been a lot of fun, guys. This has been the Browns Blitz, and we will catch you next time.